Here are 5 terrifying, scary, true Ouija board stories. What is a Ouija board? A Ouija board is a board game that is said to contact spirits, but usually what comes through isn't always what you expect, but sometimes pure evil. And here are 5 stories that are true. Story number 1. A creepy doll. I have a terrifying story about a Ouija board. I got a call from my cousin who said that he, his brother, his dad, and his best friend were using a Ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they took a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy and placed it in an adjacent room face down on a pile of towels. My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense and he went to take a crap. His dad and his brother and friend started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was, who was in the other room? It just started spouting random numbers, and when my cousin came back in the room, his brother said that it wasn't working, and that they were going to put it away, and he showed him the answer to the last question he asked, and he said, "Dude, that's my social security number." Then they started to talk to whatever started spewing answers out. It told my cousin he would die in the Air Force. At this point, they tell the entity they are communicating with to prove itself. It then spelled out the word doll, D-O-L-L, and they were like, what the hell? They opened the door to check out the porcelain doll they had laid in the other room. When they opened the door, the doll was standing upright in front of the door, staring right at them. Everyone freaked and ran out of the house. His best friend burned the Ouija board, and I think he temporarily went nuts for a few months. My cousin for some reason then joined the Air Force and is on a base in Europe now. Story number 2. Meeting Zozo. A couple of my friends and I thought it would be fun to play with a Ouija board. We went and bought a Hasbro board with an electronic blanket. We started to play with it at around midnight. Just the perfect cliche for a sleepover ritual that was supposed to be scary. We started our first game and nothing really happened. The planchette would move about an inch before abruptly stopping. We started to ask more questions like, what is your name and how old are you? But we didn't get any response but an A and an I. We were about to end the game and then the light on the planchette went out. Thinking this was the battery related issue, we ended the game. But moments after ending our session, the planchette light turned on again. About 15 minutes later, we decided to use the Ouija board again. We started the game and met a spirit named Alan. My friend asked right away if he wanted to hurt us and it said yes. I asked what it wanted to do and the planchette went to K, which could obviously mean kill. I asked it why and it said MC, which made no sense, so we ended the game. A bit later we found out that Alan was around 80 when he died, had no kids, and did not like being disturbed. Later on he claimed he was a friendly spirit, but I have my doubts. After ending the game we took a break for a little while. The room we were doing the Ouija board in has grown colder, and we felt chills, and the feeling of being watched the entire time we weren't playing. Eventually, we succumbed to our curiosity and decided to try the board again. We met the same person that kept abruptly stopping, so we ended the game and tried again. When we started the next game, we asked, "Is anyone here?" After waiting for about a minute, the planchette moved to 6. After it stopped, the planchette light got dimmer and flickered out, so being smart, we ended the game. The watching presence got heavier as we took the next break. Our final attempt was the freakiest. We started the session and asked if anyone was there. The planchette moved to 6, and again we just thought it was nothing. We asked what its name was, and it slid to Z. Now the friend I was playing with and myself both knew of the demon Zozo. We asked for the second letter, and it circled around the board a few times before stopping on O. We tried to say goodbye, but the planchette stayed in place. Eventually the planchette moved, and we ended the game. Being superstitious, I went into the room and told the spirit to leave and poured salt all over the place. We are going to try the board one more time and we will record. I will try to put a link to the video in the later comment or update if anything happens. I will add more or possibly do another post if it is worth it. Update. So we ended up doing the Ouija board again, and apparently we were able to contact Zozo again. He told us that he was Alan and that he had been him the whole time. We found this a lie and that Zozo was overpowering Alan. We asked Alan how we could help, and he said, God. Story number 3. Connected with a spirit named D. I have been connected with a spirit named D in the past. He said he was trying to hurt me and that he was evil. Ever since I was done with that session, I stopped playing for a while. Then every spirit after that wanted to escape my board by attempting to count down through the numbers and going to corners off the board and spelling out. I earlier today scanned my Ouija board and the letter D was scratched into it. I still decided to play and connected with a spirit named C, who claimed he was good, and he warned me and my friend that D was around and he wanted to harm us. He said that he was evil and was from hell. He also said that he connected with us to protect us. After we thanked him for the information and closed the session, later that night we again attempted to play. We once again connected with C and he said that prayer will make D more mad. And Lindsay, my friend, asked if D was around us, and C spelled out R-U-N. Run. We quickly closed the board and ran to our friend's house, who closed the portal. To close this portal, we had to once again play. Andrew, our friend, asked the questions and we were the players. The spirit that connected with us once again was C. He said that D wanted out, and that he would possibly try to make him stay in the portal longer. We put it to goodbye, and I said goodbye to the Ouija board that night. Whoever says this isn't real needs to experience this for themselves, but I still would not recommend playing it. I learned my lesson. Story number 4. It's just a hobby. Cindy was only 13. She was the middle child within a large, devotedly Christian family. She had 3 older sisters, a younger sister, and a younger brother. At some point during the 8th grade, a friend let her borrow a Ouija board one weekend, and that weekend Cindy and her older sisters played with the board. They did so in secret late at night because they knew how strongly their parents would disapprove. That weekend, the mysterious talking board mesmerized Cindy. Cindy became obsessed with it. She could think of nothing else and soon had a list of questions that she wanted to ask the board. Cindy had an hour every day after school where she was alone in the house before her older sisters returned from high school. So Monday afternoon, right after getting home from school, she cautiously crept up to her room, set up the Ouija board on her bed, and gently laid her fingertips on the bottom of the pointer. After just 10 minutes of sitting quietly, the planchette started to jerk softly across the board. It spelled out H-I, hi. Cindy's breath caught in her throat. Hi, she answered. Who are you? J-A-K-E, the board said. A shock ran through Cindy. Jake was a friend of hers who had died in a car accident in the 4th grade. She said, Jake, is that really you? Cindy sat up, her arms shaking with excitement. The pointer moved quickly up to yes. Over the next hour, Cindy held a conversation with Jake. Every day after school, Cindy would race up to her room and have a conversation with Jake about her life and about her future. But after a few days, the conversations became darker and angrier. By the second week, Cindy had the impression that she wasn't talking with Jake, but instead with a dark and terrible imposter. Finally, by the end of the second week, the entity revealed itself as a demon and threatened Cindy that if she told anyone about their conversations, she would die. That Friday night when her sisters got home, they found Cindy curled up in a corner crying. It took a week in mental facility before Cindy could recover from the emotional damage that the entity caused her during those 2 faithful weeks of her childhood. Story number 5. The Setup. One day, when I went to Mexico to visit my cousins, it was just me and him alone in the house. The house had always been pretty weird, as we always heard things. Also would hear the door shut sometimes and even see it shut on its own. So we did have a feeling people were in this house. But spirits. Anyways, to move forward. The craziest part about this story was one day we were watching TV, and out of nowhere we hear a loud sound coming from the attic. We just ignored it, but then we heard like some rumbling, like something just fell. Like some books falling off shelves. That's exactly what it sounded like. We went to go investigate it, and instead of coming from the attic, it came from one of the closet doors. Everything had just fallen down on its own. Now maybe there could have been a reason for it. There could have been too much weight. But the odd part was there was a Ouija board on the ground, right in our sight. I looked at my cousin, and the worst part about it was we were little at the time, so we decided to play it. We decided to do it in his room, so we go into his room and ask it questions. Now we thought it was baloney, but then it moved on its own after we asked, "What is your name?" It said its name was Seth. S-E-T-H. We didn't know whether to believe it, but that's all it said. We asked, "Where are you from? And who are you?" Never gave us direct answers. We didn't say goodbye, we just took our hands off and put it away. And I think maybe that was the downfall. Because that night, I woke up with sensational burning on my back. I woke up screaming. My cousin got up, and then he saw my back. It was burning like hell. He said it was bleeding. And we took my shirt off, and only to examine in the light, 3 long scratch marks, and I was bleeding bad. He didn't know what to do, so he called his parents, my aunt and uncle. They came down about an hour later, and they just patched me up. But they were deep scratches. And that night, I dreamed with a big black figure, and I woke up breathless. And ever since then, I would always see this black figure. Still to this day, I see him. He doesn't leave me. He always bugs me. And every time he comes around, those scratch marks burn like hell. Let me tell you something. Never play the Ouija board. The only way I can probably get rid of this is if I play it again. But I am too terrified. And now I'm scarred forever. And now I have a demon following me. Hey guys, this is Fears It. Thank you for watching the video. If you didn't catch the last video, you have a chance to go back and see it now. Also, if you would like your story to be narrated, you can submit your story to my Google account.